Hey, this is Madigan, day 6 of the 2022 40-day fast. And as I've said in the earlier videos, you may have caught some of that. If not, I'd encourage you to go back and check some of that out. For the first time in 20 years, I've been doing long-term fasting for about 20 years now. Started with the call in 2002, heading to New York City. And this is about my 25th long-term fast. And so something that I've really had on my heart for quite a few years to do is to talk through some of the questions that people have. People ask me questions about fasting, long-term fasting all the time, and I thought, why not do a series of 40 questions for 40 days? So that's what I'm in the middle of. And I wouldn't normally do this. Normally the long-term fasting is quite a secretive or thing I try to keep to myself, or just to my family and close friends. But in worship on Monday morning, day 1, with the YWAM guys here in YWAM Mazatlan, I was just really convicted by God to get as many answers out there as possible. So if you've got questions, I'd encourage you to hit me up on the socials or on YouTube. I'd love to do that. And today we're looking at the whole idea of what if I slip up when I'm fasting. And particularly this happens, we have this mindset around a successful fast is one where you don't slip up, and a non-successful one is where you know, I've eaten a bit here and eaten a bit there. But I just want to really challenge that idea, especially if you are thinking about fasting for the first time or you're new to it. The whole idea of a failure and success mindset isn't really helpful. There's actually probably no failures in fasting. There's just learnings. You might attempt a 7-day fast and you end up doing it for 3 days, and you say, oh, I really wanted to do 7, I only made it to 3. Can I encourage you that that is a successful fast, because Jesus is actually looking at something different, a different criteria maybe to what we're thinking. And I want to share that criteria with you now as I just open the scriptures with you, as we've done each day. Open the scriptures, and today particularly looking at the whole idea in Matthew chapter 6, verse 16, 17, and 18. So I'm going to read that and just say a few things about this. So Jesus is speaking to a crowd, actually. When you fast, do not look somber like the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces and show others that they're fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put on oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you're fasting, but only to your Father, who is unseen, and your Father, who's seen what is done in secret, will reward you. So the only failure, I think, in fasting is the one that's mentioned here, and that is when you make it all about your appearance. When you focus more on the outward appearance of what you're doing, and that people will think you are somehow spiritual or great, as opposed to the inner vitality that comes from fasting, then you've had your reward in full, and that is the full failure. If you are all about the inner reward of him bringing just a powerful sense of, or it says in the last verse here, he will reward you in secret. That is what fasting is all about. Now, the irony for me, of course, is that I'm actually talking about this 40-day fast I'm doing. I'm day 6, and I've had some weakness. I've had some just feeling powerless. But there's this inner vitality that's happening. And I guess I really wanted to make sure that that you knew about that. The irony is that I felt like God's saying to let people know and start a conversation around long-term fasting. So I've had to weigh that up and say, okay, there are other places in the scriptures, and I'll answer this question later on about the whole thing of how much do we keep it secret and how much do we make it public. But there are some great scriptures to discuss that. If you want to send a question about that, that'd be great. So like all these videos, can I encourage you to like, share, subscribe on YouTube, and send questions in. I'd love to get your questions. I'd love for you to interact in this conversation, and maybe for you taking the first steps into long-term fasting. Well, bless you from Mexico. Love to interact with you, and I'll see you next time.